are live. Welcome to the latest episode of the Crafty Boys, where I think we didn't do a show last week because people were not
No, we
feeling good,
didn't.
and
I
now we're
wasn't
here.
feeling. I wasn't feeling well. It was my fault that there was no show.
I think Dave was actually not well too.
Oh, okay.
So I called Locke and I didn't hear back from him. However, Locke will be in town for a bit. He'll be in Victoria over the weekend, roughly. Maybe into next week. I don't know. And then he will, of course, be back here, and I hope he's here for Wednesday next week, where he will be live in the studio. So,
Nice.
how's it going?
Oh well, thank you. Feeling much better than I did last week. That's for sure. How about you, Shane? How's things going?
Did you get down with the COVID?
No, I did not. I had
Yeah.
other things going on that were not COVID
My
related.
junk fell off onto the ground, and I was unable to move for fear of scaring the dog.
Let's put it this way: I had bad things coming out of every orifice. So
That sucks. So basically, you just picked up the seasonal flu, the or cold.
well, I don't know if it was flu or if it was maybe a mild case of food poisoning. I'm kind of leaning towards food poisoning.
Did you eat elsewhere at some point?
No,
Oh.
no, I don't know.
So
Some just wasn't agreeing with me, and it only lasted like a couple of days. So.
Okay, well that's not so bad then. Yeah, we've had lots of people that have been taken down. Of course, they always think about is this it? My parents apparently have a cold now. Did tests, came back negative for the COVID, but at the same time, my mother was saying, whatever. So,
Well, it's funny. Well, not funny, but a coworker of mine, um, she's pretty much a homebody, and she's been staying at home aside from going to work for the past 2 years. And she and her husband decided to go out and celebrate his birthday for the first time in 2 years. They went out, and they both got COVID. So.
and that kind of happened to me where I went out on a Friday night after not really having gone anywhere for a long time. And then, a week later, you're like, oh, what did I do? And I don't know. I assume it was COVID. Who knows? I kind of hope it was because I'll be stronger for it or some bullshit. But yeah, so big beer news that you actually brought up the other day is
Well, first of all,
tickets for a
are we
certain
going to
event.
partake?
Oh, right. We should drink beer. Well, here's the thing. I'm already drinking beer.
Oh, okay.
This is the home brew because I made it. It is a Cooper's bitter, English bitter, and so that's what I'm drinking.
Now, did you
'Cause
add something? Like, did you just use the kit, or did you add something to it?
Not to this one. I actually wanted to see what this is actually the batch I made about 3 months ago, 2 months ago. And but I made it raw. I wanted to actually see what the end product tasted like without modification.
And
Then I did another one. It's not bad. It's not terrible. It's quaffable. I mean, it works.
yeah,
But I definitely would probably put in a few more hop varieties.
yeah,
Because
I made their IPA kit, and actually, this was several years ago. I was making their IPA kit like almost religiously, and I would drink it, and it was good beer. But as far as IPAs goes, like from what I know now, it was nowhere close to the level of what I would expect from an IPA. Like the hoppiness just was not there on it. Like you would have to, dry hop it. I mean,
yeah, I tend to with these kits. I tend to do that. I tend to really get into the dry hopping part of it because I find that when I make them hardcore with adding some bittering and some flavoring hop wise, I don't know. I just the product does. I just don't like the product as much as the experience of actually dry hopping. So when the dry hopping happens, the flavors are just way different. So it is, yeah, it's amazing. It's kind of cool. But I highly recommend that if you are going to use a Cooper's kit, uh, do the first ones just as it says on the side of the can, and then dive into experimenting after that, just so you can kind of get a sense of what you should expect from the actual raw kit, and then of course get into the other stuff, or get into like modifying and making it different, like throwing some chocolate in, depending on what it is. Don't do that to an IPA; it does not work very well. The darker ones, yeah, it's not so bad. What are you drinking? Did you grab something randomly from the fridge?
Yes, I did. Well, I went out tonight because Dave and I had a beer that set aside that we are going to do together, but since he's not here, I didn't feel right doing it. So I went out and grabbed a couple of things. Um, this is from a brewery that we haven't done on the show in a while. And I saw this one advertised on their social media a while back. And I was like, ooh, that looks kind of cool. And I haven't seen it locally in the stores until today. I saw it, so I picked it up. It is from Riot Brewing. Remember, Riot was the brewery in, I believe it's Ladysmith. Chemainus, sorry,
Yeah,
Chemainus.
Chemainus. Yeah.
Chemainus, that was going through a really difficult time a couple of years ago after the windstorm and the snow and everything. It almost killed their business, and they managed to resurrect themselves. Right now, they have their Breakfast of Champions, which is a coffee lager, which I really wanted to try. It comes in at 4.8%, if you guys can see that there. It comes in a tall boy. It's unfiltered. It says on the
Nice.
can here, "Good morning, sunshine. How's that self-induced headache feeling? You could use a coffee or a beer. Why not have both? This lager is masterfully brewed with super smooth cold brewed coffee from our friends at Drum Roaster, allowing us to put two of your vices in one can. Now you can tackle the day like a champion." And this is a collaboration brew with Drum Roaster Coffee, which I assume is also in Chemainus. So let's crack this puppy open. Gotta get the ASMR stuff in there. Did that work? Was that good?
That was a pretty good sound. I enjoyed that. That was actually nice and loud and clear.
All right. I'm using a tulip glass for this because on the last show, I was amazed at the difference a tulip glass made.
Yes.
So I'm going to compare this to the Night Watch, which I believe is a coffee lager from Lighthouse Brewing.
Describe the aromatic experience.
So the coffee smell is there, but it's subtle. I can more smell the beer part of it than I can the coffee, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
And that's different from Night Watch, where the coffee is just, it hits you in the face. This one I have a feeling is going to be a little bit more subtle. So let's see. Not as subtle as I thought it would be. That flavor of the coffee does come through like immediately. As soon as it hits the palate, that coffee flavor is there. But on the back end, it goes away, and you're left with a nice, beer flavor, just like a regular lager, or yeah, it's a really nice, easy drinking beer. I should point out that this thing was a World Cup Bronze Award winner for 2018. I'll just hold that. If you can see that. Yeah.
The beer cup. Where is the beer cup from?
The World Beer Cup.
The World Beer Cup. Like, Like, is it based out of? It sounds like it's something you'd find in Amsterdam.
It
Hi,
sounds
welcome to
like
the beer
it
cup.
sounds like JD Power and Associates kind of thing, like it's just a fake thing, but it probably isn't. So, World Beer Cup 2018 Bronze Award winner. Um, yeah, I'm really enjoying this. This is a nice beer. I would totally get this again. Now, in
Well, if I
comparison,
see it, I'll have to pick it up.
yeah, I would recommend that. I would be interested to do a side by side comparison in real time with this and Night Watch from Lighthouse, just to see
Oh
how it is.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's the flavor profile is going to be different. Um,
That's a really good compare. Like that's a really good match, I think. Because Night
well,
Watch, I
they're both coffee
remember
lagers.
quite well, right? So we've
Yeah,
had it on the show a long time ago, but I know that I've had it since too. So that to
same.
me is something that is actually, yeah. We that there's an episode of our show, 3 different coffee loggers. We have to try them all out and compare. And what do you do for like a when you like what's a really successful palate cleanser when you are um doing a very similar tasting beer? I can't think of a single really good quality way because um yeah, I can't think of anything flavor wise to fight off coffee. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I don't think there's anything you could do.
I'm curious if anybody watching would actually know that. If you have an idea of how that would work, please let me know. Or let us know. So yeah.
So okay, so
And
as Shane was starting to say off the top there, yes, Great Canadian Beer Fest back on for 2022. Friday, September 9th and Saturday, September 10th at Royal Athletic Park in Victoria, British Columbia.
right.
Tickets go on sale to the general public on June the 20th. Um, but if you buy a membership, a $25 annual membership to the Victoria Beer Society, you can buy your tickets on June the 10th and save 25% off your ticket
How do
price.
we get in on that action?
I'm kind of thinking about doing that. Now, I did find out the prices. So for the Friday, it's $35. For the Saturday, it's $45. I'm not
I'm
sure
just
why
looking
the Saturday is more.
I'm just looking it up here so we can actually have the do they actually have a website anymore?
Yeah, they do.
They must do. Victoria Beer. Oh yeah, sorry, it changes the Victoria Beer Society. But the actual festival, the URL has changed to this. Here we go. So basically, I think we should go.
Do you think? Do you think, Shane?
Oh,
Um,
I really think this is a good idea. I what I seem to be really excited about that. So there you go. So basically, the Great Canadian Beer Fest, as Alan said, the Great Canadian Beer Fest is at Royal Athletic Park, beginning of September. It is. I think we normally go on the Saturday. I think usually,
we go on the Friday usually.
or sorry, the Friday, and we try and not die before the Saturday. So
And basically, the Saturday one is more of an afternoon thing. It's like you go in the afternoon. I think it's done by like 6 o'clock, whereas the Friday one goes until 8. And I think that's a draw for me. I kind of like the more evening oriented event than the afternoon one where you could possibly be in the blazing heat, blazing sun all day long. Um, that's not fun. And the Friday one is like cheaper anyway.
that's right. Why is it cheaper?
Well, I'm thinking because there's going to be more demand for the Saturday. People work on Fridays. Fridays, right?
Yeah.
I work on Fridays.
I'm so ill.
Oh.
Can't come to work on Friday.
Yeah. Doctor says I got to have a couple of pints. Sorry, can't make it in.
It's terrible. Yeah, my doctor gave me a doctor's note that says, "Dear employer, I apologize, but Alan is ill and must go to the Great Canadian Beer Fest to have some of the medicinal beer poured down his throat. He is near death. This excursion will revive him fairly quickly." Signed, Doc.
Well, I figure so. I would normally take that day off. I would book it off.
Yeah.
But because there's been no beer fest the past couple of years, and I got to book my holidays like a year in advance.
Man.
I didn't book that day off, so I have to work technically that day.
God.
So what I'll do is
Alan, how are you feeling? Pretend it's September 1st. How are you feeling, buddy? Are you feeling all right?
Well, what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'll go to work, and I'll just leave a couple hours early, whatever. I'll pack light.
There's nothing. I'll pack light.
Which means I don't know if we'll be able to go to Fat Burger before. We may have to go somewhere else.
Yeah, the only thing. Yeah, that is sort of a solid tradition that we've established for going to the Great Canadian. But you're right. We haven't been there for so long. I don't remember what it's like anymore. So I think we're just going to have to
burgers and fries and
we could go afterwards. I mean,
maybe. Interesting that we're talking about burgers now. So Johnny Rockets had come to Victoria a few years ago, and they opened up two stores, one at Hillside Mall and one downtown. They're both closing permanently.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Rumor has it they can't find staff.
That does not surprise me because I've had several conversations with different people that I do work with, and they're having trouble finding people all the time. Like there are places apparently in town that are just hiring whoever walks in off the street. It's like, hi, do you do this? Do you have this skill set? I don't know. You're hired. Yeah. So good on them. I certainly hope that it goes well. But yeah, there's definitely a huge issue for you guys in the medical sector. Is that like becoming an issue, or has it? Because I mean, you're not a nurse, but you know a lot of them. And do they like burn out? Have they run away, or
not just
are
nurses?
they not
just
back?
Nurses. Everybody is burnt out. And here's the thing: is everybody's contracts are up with the government. The nurses, the hospital employees, and remember it was in 2004 that the hospital employees had their wage cut they were either laid off or they had their wage cut by 15%.
And it's been that long since it happened. Wow.
Yeah. And it was it was a BC Liberal staffer even told a hospital employees when they complained about the wage cut, it's like, well, go get a real job. So, and then the pandemic comes along, and it's like suddenly that fantasy job that wasn't really needed and everything, and now suddenly has become quite important. So all these people want, there is a movement of what they want their 15% back.
Oh, really?
Which is maybe fantasy land stuff, but they want it. They want instead of banging pots and pans at 7:00, they would rather see some sort of monetary gesture, not necessarily a gesture, but pay them what they're worth. And if that doesn't happen, I foresee a mass exodus.
Well, we had some people that lived in our building, and at the beginning of the pandemic, one of them was a nurse, and at the beginning of the pandemic, things were okay. They just did their thing, and then about I don't know 6 months into it, the nurse got a job offer in like Monterey, California, or something, or near San Francisco, and it was like 3 times the amount they were getting paid up here. So they told their spouse, "Hey, this is an opportunity." The spouse was like, "Great, I work from home anyway. Let's do it." And then they left
Yeah.
and have been living it up there. So
It's not the
it
only
is not surprising.
not the only story like that I've heard. Um, but here's the other issue is that since I started in my I've been in healthcare for 28 years. Since I started, um, minimum wage has gone up by about 3 times what it was when I started. Has my wage gone up by 3 times since then? No, nowhere
Right.
close. In fact, I'm probably making. It's hard to say because I've changed positions since then. But that job that I did originally probably makes about maybe $5 an hour more now than it did 28 years ago.
Right.
So the gap between what a minimum wage job gets paid and what a healthcare worker gets paid is closing. So why go through all the stress if you can get another job somewhere else that pays almost the same, but at way less stress to yourself, right? I mean, why do it? So I think that's what some people are thinking. I think some of them are going to move into sort of more menial jobs. The pay is a little bit less, but not that much less, and it's way less stress. So, if you make a mistake in those other jobs, somebody doesn't die.
Yeah.
Is what it comes down to, and it sucks. But we'll see.
It's just one of those things where it would be so great to feel as though you're getting the fair deal, not the shaft, as it were, in employment. And I don't know. Do you feel that employment's changing in this country? Like, is it like? Sorry, let me clarify. That you feel that employment, the world of employment, was starting to change, and then we had this pandemic, and then that kind of accelerated everything,
Yeah.
and actually has made people realize that um, they do have more value. They do have more.
Yes.
They are free to ask for more. Whether they get it or not is irrelevant. But they are actually free to say, "Hey, I would like just a little bit more," because there are stuff goes up. I mean, right now we're seeing this potential for a recession in our country. Actually, in most countries, which is actually not surprising after
No, it's
the
not at all.
the freak out of the pandemic and all that money going out the door. There was bound to be some sort of counteraction to that. Um, hey, look at that! We actually have somebody coming in from Nelson Island. Thank you for thank you, sir, for showing up. Um, and it is something that I think that Julian can weigh in on. Can we have your uh, comments, please, about the world of work and how you have solved that problem?
He retired.
Exactly. This is where I'm going with this because I know right away that's exactly what he's going to say. Uh, you should really retire because that's the only way to really live.
Okay, so the only reason why I'm staying in healthcare right now is because I can retire in about 5 years. Um, so I'm kind of like counting down here, and then when I do retire, I'll go do something else. Like I'm not going to be able to live for the rest of my life on that pension, right? I'm going to have to go do something else because I'm not exactly old or anything. It's just the amount of years I've put in. Um, yeah, but a lot of people aren't in that same boat. They're ready to cut bait, and they're like, sorry. we'll screw off and go do something else.
Do you think that they're actually kind of counting down the days, your employer counting down the days? Oh, he's going to have to retire. Saw him on that podcast last night talking about how he's going to retire. Can't wait to be rid of that guy.
No,
Like, is that sort of a thing?
no.
I don't know.
So
Or are they
my
begging you to stay?
employers are in Vancouver. I've met my employers maybe twice. Uh, they don't know me. I'm a number. They don't care. Uh, so no, they don't care.
See, there you go. There's Julian's commentary about how government workers are.
I suppose what area of government you're in. Maybe.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that there are definitely some situations where some government work makes sense. Some government work, I don't know. It's different. Not everything is cut
Remember,
the same way, there, Julian.
I remember my dad one time. He was my mom and dad. It was when I was a kid. They were buying some lamps or something at a lighting store, and making chit chat with the woman at the till or whatever. And he said that my dad worked for the BC government, but what he didn't tell her is that he worked in the Ministry of Environment and made the maps that forest firefighters use to fight forest fires. So these were mosaic maps that they took aerial photographs and they tied them together so they have a more accurate view of the terrain for the fire that they're going to go in and fight. So that was my dad's job. And the cashier made some sort of a comment about how my dad was just a lazy government worker and all that, and that created a bit of a shitstorm. But yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. A lot of people think that government workers are lazy, but you know what? I mean, honestly, the gap has lessened. Like the whole idea of the lazy government, just because they're unionized now, doesn't mean that they make more than the people in the private sector. And in fact, in some cases now, people in the private sector are making more than those unionized government workers.
Yeah, it was actually. Did you see the not too long ago? The is it cost? No, not Costco. Was it Costco? No, Amazon. Amazon has apparently had a successful unionization
Oh,
um, in one of their locations. Union in Amazon. I've forgotten exactly where.
I thought it was Amazon successfully thwarted it.
Well, this is the thing: is that there was a statement from. Here we go. Amazon illegally interfered. Let me actually share this on the screen here. So apparently, according to this particular article, anyway, which I have seen more recently, like I was reading about this, I don't know, a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and essentially, yeah, they are being accused of having illegally interfered
Hmm.
with the whole process. So it is interesting to me that I mean, interesting, not surprising. Um, that here we go. It's just, the real problem is that the cost of labor is so much higher than the workers take home. Yeah, that is very true.
Yeah.
Um, even menial jobs are much more complicated than they used to be, and that is true. And that's actually kind of what I was meaning about earlier on when I was talking about asking you about whether or not or what you felt about the change in work and stuff like that. Because a lot of the I mean, the jobs have evolved into different things. But anyway, back to the Amazon thing. That it's fascinating that these companies that are so very they're big and massive and huge like Amazon, and they're still unwilling to pay a fair wage. Now, granted, I know nothing about the situation. They could be getting a decent wage for all I know, but I do know that regardless of that, even if they're getting paid higher than the average and they're very happy with what they take home, they're still working these jobs that are definitely two things. are ripe for abuse because Amazon is a machine that tries to throw products into your face as quickly as possible. But also, more importantly, you have uh, these jobs are on the way out. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in 5 years, or maybe even 10 years, but they're definitely being phased out in favor of computers that don't complain. So it is, it's sort of those things where um,
It was the machines,
it
Shane.
was the machines that did it.
True, powerful, hooked into everything, trusted to run it all.
Oh my god, yeah. It is one of those things that you just kind of want to not admit that these jobs are going away because
Which
eventually, what
which
is
is
it?
gonna
Amazon wants to deliver everything by drones or some
which is
ridiculous
gonna
plan,
lead
but
us, I think, to the what is it called? The basic um what was that? The basic income where
the
everybody it's like in
guaranteed minimum income, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that's a
So
reality, and it should be a reality. And
yeah. And
sorry, you're
I
saying.
think it's instead of like having like welfare programs and blah 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 blah, everybody's going to get a certain amount of money, and then you can get a job to supplement that. But everybody's going to get this certain thing. The question is, where is the government going to get the money? I suppose taxation from the corporation. If the corporations aren't hiring people and are instead using machines, maybe they'll be taxed at a higher rate to have the guaranteed minimum income.
It is um it is something that has been tried. Now, I'm not an expert at all on guaranteed minimum income stuff.
No, no.
The peanut gallery does actually know a bit about it. Here comes the peanut gallery. Hey, peanut gallery, do you want to make a comment about guaranteed minimum income? Or sorry, as Julian has pointed out, it is universal
Universal
basic income.
There we go.
So, would you like to just say your piece about it, or you want to stay out of it? No, no, denied. Oh well, so we've been denied. But basically, yeah, I mean, it's a reality that we're going to have to face at some point, because as technology advances, I mean, by the time you and I are, say, in our 80s, near our deathbeds, um, I would say that we
By that
probably
time
will.
that happens, we'll be downloading our consciousness into a computer and like living like for eternity that way. That's going to be our
Uh,
afterlife.
well, exactly. Well, it's like that. What was the show called? San Janeiro, something. I forgot exactly the name of it, but there is an episode of the TV show Black Mirror that is exactly that. Um, it's basically
Okay.
all about people who are, ending their life at the end of their life, and they're deciding to euthanize themselves because they already know that their brain has been uploaded into this virtual realm somewhere, in cyberspace, and they can continue to live there for, forever. Um,
Or
but
until
uh,
there's
but
a
yeah,
till the
I
power
think,
goes out.
yeah, until the power goes out, until
Whoop.
those humans acting as human batteries for the machines, die off or liquefy or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, um, but as the technology gets better and better and better, I mean, it might not be in our lifetime, but I think at some point, in the next couple 100 years, we're going to have a situation where jobs that are considered to be menial or labor intensive to a human being are going to be gone. And when you have an education system and a work world that are not in balance, that don't have enough really going on to really sort of meet the demand that people, I mean, people could talk about how we don't have enough nurses, we don't have enough this, we don't have enough that. There are a lot of lawyers, but we have, these situations where these individuals are not um, uh, the jobs that are opening, or that are sort of transitioning or evolving, are not having people catching up to that. And
Maybe by
um,
then we won't have money. Like money will be outlawed, like in Star Trek. You won't need money for anything. Like everybody's gonna have food replicators in their home. So you can say, like tea Earl Grey hot, and there it is. Um, we'll have like, instead of getting a job to pay for things, you do something that you actually enjoy doing. You do it for free, but you do it
Yeah.
for not for monetary gain, but for the betterment of yourself and society as a whole.
Don't tell me you don't have money in the future. Well, we don't. Um, what do they mean by exact change? Uh, Speaking of Star Trek, did you see Strange New Worlds
I
last
did.
week? And what did you think? Speaking of places that have no money.
Uh, yeah, it was good. For a first episode, I thought it was fine. I'm really hoping, and this is my hunch, is that they're going to do more of a traditional episodic kind of series. Um,
Yeah.
and that's what I hope for. I don't want to see like season long story arcs kind of thing. I want classic Trek.
Yeah, I actually got that sense from that episode, that because here's the one thing, I'm actually missing out some information because I haven't watched the latest season of Discovery. So they were talking about things in that episode that, what the hell was that noise? Was that you?
That was my phone.
Who's calling?
That was a new.
Um, but this is Julian's thing. Hoard your gold and silver. Now, here's the thing: if money goes away, does gold and silver still retain any value? Because gold always has been associated with some sort of monetary equivalent. This rock of gold costs this much. If money is gone, does gold and silver actually become a currency? Like Julian has always told me, that these things are going to eventually. If the world collapses, we're going to have gold and silver.
Now,
I
gold
don't know.
pressed Latinum.
Gold pressed Latinum, though.
Yeah, totally. How much gold pressed Latinum does Julian have? I'm gonna bet.
That's a very good question. Gold pressed Latinum. Uh, Now, just to give people who don't understand what the hell we're talking about, um, the brain in my head. So Latinum in Star Trek land is really, I don't remember if it ever was mentioned in the TNG, but gold pressed Latinum is this thing where it is a silver silver cuddle. Oh my, cuddled! It's a cuddled metal, colored metal, liquid metal that's used as currency by the Ferengi and the Cardassians. Now, apparently, they create them, they put these things into bars, and then you can use it as currency. But of course, I have to admit, one of the big questions that a lot of people have asked about Star Trek over the years is, if you run into a culture that does not have Spock, um, if you run into a culture that doesn't, or say that has money and has a currency you've never heard of, and you discover that it's made of gold and latinum, and you press it together and bingo bango. Um, how does that work? Because even in Star Wars, they deal with that. Like, I don't take Republic credits. Get out of here. That kind of thing. How are we going to reliably have a universal currency? I mean, Julian, what is the universal currency beyond gold and silver? I'm talking about interstellar travel. I'm talking about going to SETI Alpha 5 and meeting up with a bar there and trying to buy a drink. What do you do? What do you do? Not everyone's going to like gold. Not everyone's going to like silver. But can we come up with a universal currency before we leave the planet? I mean, really?
I was gonna suggest something, but
What were you going to suggest, Al?
oh, before we move on too much longer, going back to the Star Trek 4, there was an interesting, and Shane, you might realize this, in the season 2 of Picard, they actually brought back the punk guy on the bus from Star Trek 4.
I did see that.
and he was
That
on the
was
bus again
awesome.
with 709, and yeah.
And she's like, "Turn that off," and he's like, "Okay." Turn it down, whatever. But he turned it right off. And yeah, that was actually I think I was pretty much the only person that I know of, except yourself, that actually would have noticed that
Oh yeah,
because uh
it was
because
awesome.
I think it actually had
It's the
special guest
same
star
guy
and then the
too.
actor's name. Oh yeah, it was him. So for those of you who don't know what the hell we're talking about, in Star Trek 4, there's a punk guy on a bus with really loud music. Uh, Kirk tells him to turn it off. He tells Kirk what to go do with himself, and then Spock uses the nerve pinch to make the guy pass out. So many years later, 30 odd years later, suddenly we have this same punk guy playing. I don't remember what he was playing, but it was something he was really loud anyway. I hope it was the same song. Actually, was it the same song?
No, it
Maybe.
wasn't the same song.
Oh darn. But anyway, so yeah. So I gotta say, a callback like that was totally worth that entire season. That season I felt kind of was really more of a setup season. It was like a bunch of stuff happened. You're like, where's this going? And then it ends, and you're like, oh, I see 5 different possibilities where this could go.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that that has a major payoff in season 3, just purely from a storytelling, regardless of Star Trek or anything. But yeah, but back to Discovery, sorry, Strange New Worlds. I did get that feeling of that exact what you were saying earlier about how it's like feeling like old Trek kind of thing, and I hope that they really delve into that because I will point out just the other day Julian was talking. Julian, speak words if you're typing in the chat, but he was talking a lot about the sort of the philosophical side of Star Trek back in the day, and how a lot of the issues that it dealt with, especially, were close to the surface because of just the time it was in the late '60s, and a lot of stuff was going on, especially in the world, but especially in the states, and they were able to kind of talk about those issues in a way that people didn't realize they were talking about it. And I went back and actually saw a few clips from different episodes in the show, and having watched the entire thing years ago and not having watched it recently, it was kind of nice to be able to go, "Oh yeah, oh that's what they're actually making references to this and that, and
Oh
oh
yeah.
okay."
If you
So,
watch
which a
classic
lot of the
Trek
TNG
now,
stuff
it's
didn't do.
obvious, right?
Yeah, well, exactly.
TNG is less obvious, but it's there.
Um, I think of because DS9 and Voyager. Voyager was more of a monster-ish of the week initially, and then it became less so.
Yeah.
And then you had, which of course, if you've paid attention to TV at all at the sort of turn of the century, from the 20th to 21st, it was sort of the beginning, the first few years of the 2000s, where uh, TV was sort of changing. A lot of shows were changing from monster of the week formats to longer serial sort of stuff, and where you'd have like an arc of a TV show for an entire season, and you'd have little tiny adventures in between, but in the background you always had these sort of bigger stories being told.
Well, I
And
think that came about with, like, say, Babylon 5 and what was the reboot of Battlestar Galactica.
yeah, it actually, what's really sad, I've actually not seen Babylon 5.
And neither have I,
um
actually.
I really, I was just talking about that with someone else the other day about a show about that show, because they were talking about how um, the re-release of Babylon 5 was because they shot Babylon 5 on 35 millimeter film. I guess at some point they re-released it for, I guess, DVD or maybe Blu-ray, and released it so that it was all in widescreen
Mm.
and letterbox formats. So, which apparently some of the seasons did later in the show's history. But yeah, I think that that is something to check out, because when you can take a science fiction property and enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed, Star Trek and Star Wars, I'm hoping that I can find that in a new show and drink beer at the same time, because that way I don't know, you get a better enjoyment out of it. Do you drink beer when you watch TV programs? Like, I don't what kind of TV watching have you done lately? In what
Uh, yeah, I don't watch a lot of TV to be honest. I watch the new Star Trek shows. I don't watch Lower Decks. There's something
I
about it just
recommend.
turns me off.
I totally loved that show. Lower Decks was amazing. I burned through it very quickly.
Yeah. Um, when there's a Star Wars show out on Disney Plus, I'll watch that like religiously, even the animated ones. Um, I don't know if I'd drink a beer during them. I mean, I might sometimes, but not religiously or anything.
I only mention it because I think of it as something that this show should be about. That every activity that we do needs to include beer, like getting on the bus, going to work, going to your
It
friend's
would
house,
make
sitting
work more
down,
enjoyable.
going to your friend's daughter's wedding, right in the gallery, because that's what we're about, the Crafty Boys. This is what we do. By
Go
the
to an
way, I don't know
AA
if we
meeting.
going to the AA meeting. I'm here to support all of you. Don't do this. Watch my example of what not to do. But yeah, I mean, you got all of these things that we do in our lives, and we have to start really attaching styles of beer to each of these things, because otherwise you get to be like us, and it's like 9:30 on a Wednesday night, and you yawn during your live stream. So nothing says quality like that. Which, by the way, did we mention this before the live stream started? Locke is not here either. Dave is
We
not
did
feeling
not
well.
mention
Locke
it.
is not here. Locke is on his way to this neck of the woods where he's going to be visiting for a week or something, and he might be live in studio next week, as well as she's on the plane. They're going away. So, what's this? Julian says silver is still widely minted, but it isn't really used as a currency anymore. But gold is still held in massive accounts in central banks, not Canada, used to sell international accounts, which is true. And but I certainly hope that we can do away with money at some point, and just kind of have a society that's based on uh, mutual bludgeoning, killing your neighbors to get their house, that kind of stuff. Just stuff. You
The
collect
old
a lot of
west.
stuff and murder a lot of people. I mean, isn't that the way it's going to be? The Purge, isn't that a film series that supposed to
Yes, it
tell the
is.
truth about the future?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to leave it there tonight, boys, because it is getting a bit late, and Julian is true of digital currency and the opposite. Yeah, I agree. The digital currency is the stock exchange, not currency, at least right now. I certainly hope that it gets better, but whatever. We're here to talk about beer. You've been watching and listening to the Crafty Boys. We will be back next week, of course. More people live in studio. Hopefully, Dave will be back. And as always, don't do it. You bastard. You did it.
Sorry.
As always, Alan, please take us out.